This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jarboh, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to the I Love Success podcast. I am super excited. My virtual world tour is continuing. This year has been very interesting in many ways, and we have to adapt and overcome. And today I have a guest. We are almost neighbors. Her name is Amber J. Lawson. She's in Venice. She's a master mindset coach for those who want to level up joy, happiness, and to live on purpose with love and abundance. And I'm a big fan of that. So I'm super excited for today's conversation. And before we get started, I just want to read something that Amber J wrote, and it actually connected me with her, and it was so real and raw. So I'm gonna share that with you guys now, and then we get started. I was living in Los Angeles, making good money and surrounded by great friends, but something was missing. I didn't realize the basic life skills I relied on were rooted in masculine energy. I had created a need to project an aura of strength and stability, but inside I felt lonely and isolated, making it difficult to trust or lean on others. Not being able to relax, release, or even cry left me feeling like a pressure cooker ready to pop. And with that being said, I think we are going to have an incredible conversation today. So let's welcome Amber J.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter, for having me on and exploring these topics and conversations.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that masculine, feminine energy. And can you just share a little bit from yourself and how you became this masculine force that had good results but didn't feel good?
Yes, thank you. So I found myself doing it like a man. I was in boardrooms. I was the only woman. I was on panels, traveling around the world. It was an exciting life, and I wanted success. And the people that were around me that were successful were men. So I was emulating their behaviors in order to create success. And guess what? It worked, right? It did work. But there is something, first of all, we both, men and women, or whatever physical body you're in, we both embody the masculine and feminine, right? And we tip both ways. The feminine receives, the masculine is pointed and penetrating, is on purpose. The feminine is flow, is ease, is rounded corners and receiving. And so it was modeled to me to create success. I got to do it a certain way. But then, I felt like something was missing, like you spoke into. That is my true story. Something was not aligning. In fact, I had been engaged 3 times, and something had me not choose to get married. And it really was the exploration of vulnerability. That was the shift for me.
Yeah. And can we just, I thank you for sharing this. And I think it's so interesting because we have a set way that we believe is going to give us success. And my goal is to redefine success, because I do believe it's different for every human being. We just need to find it and listen to that voice. But what was the feeling? Can we try to tap into that feeling that you were successful, but you didn't feel fulfillment and happiness? Like, can you describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's abject fear. It's survival. It's it's white knuckles. It is visceral in the fear of being found out. And always, one of the biggest lessons, and I'm sure we'll talk about this experience in my life, but when I was an executive at AOL, was I was doing it all by myself. And I was afraid to ask for support in fear of being found out, in like that I would be revealed as a fraud and then it would all poof go away. And it was painful. It was sad. I leaned into vices like drinking and not sleeping. And I gained weight. And I was depressed. I didn't know I was depressed. I loved my job, but I was surviving, and it's lonely. And I find that today, a lot of people I meet and run across are just trying to hold on. And for what? At what cost?
Yeah, the whole society is, there's a lot of pressure of doing more, making more money, being better. And I think we need, like I usually say, grow or die. And I agree, we need to grow as human beings, but it doesn't mean that we need to do more or be better. We can grow in different ways in different stages of our lives. And what good does it mean if you have the best job in the world, but your relationships and your friendships are in shambles? And the opposite, if you're just hanging around smoking weed in Venice all day, that might be awesome, but maybe you want to do something that feels good for the world as well, right?
I believe we are in a great pause. This is an opportunity to check our values and what matters to us, and to go inward, because you can't go outward right now. There's just no more outward to go, and how we have operated no longer works. It frankly, in a lot of areas, no longer exists, and we get to shift. And I believe our currency moving forward is going to be our hearts, is our community, is our connection, is our families, is the people that we choose to spend our time with, and more of a barter system, and we exchange value together, as opposed to hoard money and abundance and things.
Yeah, and can we talk a little bit about the masculine and feminine energy? And why do you think that a lot of women that are successful in the executive world tap into the masculine energy? Do you think that's the only way to be successful in that world, because it's so much men? Or do you think that's something that that a lot of women just do because they think that's the only way?
So I'm now training vulnerability as a key piece of leadership in corporate environments. That when the leadership, when the C-suite, when the executives lead from vulnerability, transparency, and authenticity, that it creates a culture of connection, community, and common goals. And and that's a shift from where I came up through. And first it was in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, women just kind of elbowing their way into the glass ceiling, right? The fact we were even in the executive suite and not just secretaries or assistants was a breakthrough. We were allowed and had opportunity to use new skills, or use skills we had in ways that were valued in corporate America. And there was literally an elbowing of women, and in order to get that one spot. So you would choose to step into the masculine in order to seem familiar, to seem on the same team, to look like the other people in those meetings. It was really taught. Where I don't know if you were around in the 80s, but we wore huge shoulder pads to make us look boxy like men. We didn't wear skirts. We wore pantsuits. we stepped into really masculine clothing, even to mask our feminine, because we believed, and it was totally a belief, that there's also some truth behind it, that what's this, if a woman comes into the room, it's a distraction, or she isn't, doesn't bring the same value. I mean, that was the belief system. And so to take that out of the equation, we dressed like men and acted like men. And we would go hang out with the boys, and we'd drink them under the table. And, we'd do it better, stronger, faster, quicker. And, that was the credo. And it was killing us, right? Because we were stuffing down our truth.
It's crazy because, like, I'm a martial artist, but I am also a fighter. So I competed for many years, and, having that male perspective, like, hey, I'm an alpha male, I'm not going to show any weakness, this is who I am, I'm never tired, I'm never hurt, like, that also sucks.
Yeah.
So I can take it from a male perspective. I can also realize that now I'm more open to showing vulnerability and also those feminine elements in my life, and it also makes me happier than just trying to, like, be a machine or, like, heartless that I did for several years as a fighter, because I didn't want to show weakness.
And I think it's the same thing. And I'm curious, what shifted in you? Was it a moment, or did someone open up a space for you? When did you shift out of, like, because I think that's so damaging and hurtful, and we all have feelings. We all need to let our stress out, right? And our feelings, and release that, or we pop.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes with confidence, and confidence that it's okay to lose. It's okay to be fearful, but you do it anyway. So I think in the beginning, it's almost like a dog that is afraid. It will start barking and doing it. But, like, someone that's more confident will just be calm and just relax and see what's going on, and know that performance is not going to be affected if you're totally in tune with yourself. And I talk about this a lot. I used to be two-faced, and I know a lot of people are that as well. You show up in the world as this super confident guy or girl, and you have your shit together and all of that. But when you go back home, you lack confidence. You don't like what you're doing. You don't like yourself. And you have this constant inner battle, which hurts you as a human being. And then a lot of people, and what happened for me is that I realized I needed to work on that, because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to love people. And once I started working on that, and now I can say I'm pretty much aligned, and I'm so happy, because I can say, like, I'm sad today. I can say that, and I don't care if you think that I'm weak, because I know I'm strong. But I want to talk about that journey and how we can help the listeners today to kind of go after that, because it is scary, and it is also hard when you live in a world, if you are an executive, or what type of world you're living in, right?
Well, it takes courage. What you're speaking about, like, I acknowledge you for your courage in going on that journey and creating that alignment, because I think that's where true happiness lives.
Thank you.
Is when we are fully self-expressed. And it was the same for me. Vulnerability, I would rather experience physical pain than the possibility of someone seeing my true self and then not accepting it.
Yeah.
That was death to me. And I didn't know it. Like, it's a thing that I think a lot of people don't know and don't have access to. I come from Raytown, Missouri. I come from an Italian family. Like, my entire family would get together on Sunday after church and eat and, talk about who brought the wrong casserole to church versus our feelings. Like, my uncle hated his job. He was killing himself with booze and died in his sleep. You know, there are real physical issues, you know, that when we do not release the fuse, it's what creates shootings. It's what creates Karens. It's what it's where we pop up. We have no place to let our valve release. Like, Hope for the Day is a suicide prevention organization based out of Chicago. They use an analogy of a soda can, right? Or like a bottle, like one of those Coke bottles, yeah. Right? You can sit there and be fine, but you shake it up a little, like you get rattled over here, and all of a sudden, if you don't release a little of that tension, that soda, it's gonna pop off like a Mentos, like explode. So how do we get to release steam, release stress, release our feelings, acknowledge our feelings, create a safe space for ourselves where we can release the lid a little?
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about, I want to go a little bit deep and heart to heart. Like when did you hit rock bottom? Was it in a corporate setting or a room? Like, do you recall that moment when you were like, I've had enough and I need to fucking change?
Yes. So I have 2 points that were major shifts in my life. The first was when I was running all the content at AOL, and I was flying back and forth between New York and LA, and I flew in. It was Super Bowl Sunday. I remember it. I had been advising Tim Armstrong, the CEO, to purchase Huffington Post. And they made a deal at the Super Bowl. So I walked into the office Monday morning, not being part of it, kind of being cut out of it, and arriving to the office with Ariana Huffington in my role. It was a public failure. I got kind of dethroned, and it was mortifying because I didn't do anything wrong. I had nothing to blame it on except myself. Yeah. Right? Like, if my performance wasn't failing, then what was it about me that had this happen? And it spiraled me down. And I ended up going to Mexico, to San Miguel de Allende, and starting to build my way back into my purpose, leveraging my talents and building my own business, which ultimately became Good Amplified. So using this ninja skills I had in the online space to support nonprofits, to amplify the good that they were doing. But the most recent turn in what my passion and purpose is at this point in my life happened 4 years ago. I was living with my ex-fiance a year after we had broken up.
Oh, wow.
And I had guilt because I was concerned that he would commit suicide if I left. And so I put my life on hold in order to hold all the weight. And I finally stepped away and was able to move to Venice. That was my move to Venice, and started to rebuild what connection, vulnerability, deep relationship could look like for me. And in the process of that, I discovered my lack of vulnerability. Like vulnerability was never like, I equated vulnerability as a weakness. That was like, don't even go there. It's not a part of my world at all. But I stepped into a leadership program and found out that that was between me and success. It was between me and love. It was between me and why I never chose to commit fully. And I started peeling back the onion, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It hurt. I ugly cried. I
Why do we never see ugly cries on social media? You know, I took a picture of, I ugly cried. It was, I don't recall, it was probably like a half a year when I took a picture of myself. I was like, should I post this? Because everything is just like highlight reels. But then I realized it's ugly.
well, it's interesting. I mean, I still to this day am working on putting out vulnerably and authentically what is happening. You know, it's not always rosy. It's not always successful. I've had a lot of failure from then to now. And we get to show that. One of the biggest things in Goddess process, which is what came out of this whole journey, is I bring communities of women together and they get to see that they aren't doing it alone. Like what I'm experiencing, most other people are experiencing too.
Yeah.
And there's so much freedom in that, and permission to not have it together, like in social media, to not be pretty, to not come to calls with your makeup on and your hair did, like I did this morning. Like, you know.
I know. I mean, the thing that I'm like, when we're talking about this, one thing that I'm starting to kind of realize is that a lot of us human beings, we're living a fake life, putting on a mask because we think that's the way we're supposed to live. And it creates so much unhappiness. And I think the biggest fear, again, goes back to vulnerability, right? If people know who I really am, they're not going to love me anymore. And I mean, do you have any kind of tools that you can help out with? Because I know in that moment when you went to Mexico and you were like dethroned, I'm sure it didn't just turn around in a day. It was probably a process, and a hard fucking process, right?
Yes. Brene Brown says the last thing I want to show in you is the last thing I want to show in me is the first thing I want to see in you. You know, it's our cracks that connect us, that tie us together, and the more we can show them, the deeper our relationships are. And it starts with a commitment. Are you willing to open yourself up to at least one person? Like, is there one person in your life that you would like a deeper relationship with? Start with this person. Sit with them. The first step in this is an easy exercise. It does not require anything. Is look eye to eye. Left eye to left eye. And sit there for a minute without looking away. And what shows up when you actually see another person, you can see their pain, you can see their hurt, you have compassion, love flows through. So taking the time to just connect, to see and be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you're talking about. I went to a book release for one of my previous podcast guests, Garen Jones, and we did this exercise, and uh, it was so powerful. I like most of us started crying, and you saw all these tough men and women, and like when you see someone in the eyes, you can't hide anymore, and it feels great, right? To just let go and let go of that pressure cooker. And my biggest fear sometimes is that if I show my true self, or my mostly not my true self, but mostly my vulnerabilities, that people are going to take advantage of me, especially in a business setting. Can we just talk about that? Because I think a lot of other people have the same fear, because it is a real fear. It does happen.
So I thank you for asking that, because that is a massive concern. And I don't think you have to tell all the things, right? I don't walk into board meetings and say, I was raped at the age of 10, right? You don't start at that. But you can say, hey, I'm nervous about this meeting, and the nerves are, I'm excited of what's possible, or really just acknowledging what is true for you, and where you want to get to. I also believe when we come from authentic vulnerability in what's true for us in the moment, is we create the relationships we want, whether that's in business or in any area of our life. And if people don't align, they can either up level to where you are, or they'll go choose a different path, which is perfect. Because that, if they're not in alignment, they're not in alignment.
Yeah, I want to talk about scarcity versus abundance. And I think it's also like once you go into the abundance mindset, there's a shift. And I know I lived in a scarcity mindset for a long time, especially as a competitor, because when you go to a tournament, there can only be one winner. If we talk about the person that is on top of the podium, but in reality, we can win if we do our best performance, right? And when I shifted that late in my career, and it actually led to me winning more medals, having more fun, and just feeling better about myself. So how do we go from that scarcity mindset that someone is trying to take things from me, I need to step on other people in order to win myself, to that moment where I know that, hey, Amber J, I want the best for you, because I know I also can have the best. And truly believe that.
We live in an abundant universe. There is more than enough for everyone. And when we truly embody that, it only creates more abundance. And I realize what you're speaking into is so powerful, because there is only a one on the podium. And that's very specific. Kind of like what I was speaking about, like there was only room for one woman in the boardroom. So we really thought we had to claw our way there, and that there couldn't be more than one, or there wasn't another possibility. There's always another possibility. I do a process with people, and there's a ton of tools and a ton of exercises, and we can get into all of those, or we can send them to all your viewers. But one of the process I like to use in manifesting anything is creating clarity. So like, what do you want? What are you calling in? Are you calling in, divine health? Are you calling in a relationship? Are you calling in more money? But the deeper cut of that is, well, first of all, that's a aha for a lot of people right there, right? To go, what do I want? Like, not what do they want, What do my family want? What do I want? And just slowing down, doing a meditation. I have tons of guided meditations, but there's tons on YouTube where you get clear on what you want. What do you actually want? Do you want love? Do you want a house? Do you want more money? Let's say you want more money. Well, why? So then the next layer of that is why? What's your why? If you want more money so that you can go on more vacations, what I'm hearing you say is you want freedom, which is a different and clearer idea. Like that can come in a lot of forms. And to your point, the opportunity is beyond $10,000 more. It's limitless, right? When freedom is what's actually my want. So once you have this clarity and clear what the why is, you get to go into your limiting beliefs. Like girls from Raytown, Missouri don't get to go to the Emmys. Girls from Raytown, Missouri aren't millionaires. Girls from Raytown, like what are the limiting beliefs that are between you and this want? And there's some real deep work that goes into that. It's societal, it's generational. It is being in a masculine body or a feminine body. There are layers and layers that can go into what those potential beliefs are that are between you and your abundant life. And then we take the step in releasing. This is ceremonial. It can be burning of things. It can be coming to the ocean and immersing yourself, cleansing yourself of these beliefs. It could be a visualization, but really releasing them, letting them go. They're not yours. They don't belong to you. They're not real, right? They're beliefs. And we can believe that we live in an abundant universe. We can believe that money just comes to me. Money does grow on trees. Yes. And then the last is committed action. Like what's the steps you get to take to step into that? Like, you know, I know there is this like the secret and attracting and all that. And yes, when I'm vibrating and in alignment, it shows up for me. But I also get to take committed action. Like I get to get the wheels going, right? So that ease and flow. I receive with ease and flow.
And how do you stay in that moment? Because I know there's a lot of, you know, strong, both women and men that they want to build careers, and then they have this mindset, and then you come into a world where there might be a little bit harder environment where you have to, like you don't have to, but you think you have to do that in order to win. How do you stay on course?
It goes back to this idea of not doing it alone. Find a buddy, find a group, find a podcast, find a Facebook group, find a church group, join Goddess Process, you know, whatever works for you. But don't do it alone. Let people know what you're up to. Let them support you in it. You support them. It's so much funner. Is funner a word? It's so much more fun when you do it with others. Yeah. And you will have highs and lows. Like it's not always rainbows and unicorns.
What?
I know. Trust me, I live in rainbows and unicorns. But and then I use tools. Like I use Abraham Hicks. I use guided meditations. I walk on the treadmill. I move my body. I dance. I surround myself with like-minded people. I put myself in, I use expanders. Have you used expanders before?
What is that?
Oh, I know, right? That's a good one. That's To Be Magnetic. She talks about expanders. So people And they can be people you know, or celebrities, or people who passed on, or whatever, but people who embody what you want to create in the world, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a business. So find someone or several someones. They could be pieces of someone's also. So maybe she uses the example of Oprah, Lincoln, and Richard Branson. And she's like, I love Oprah for her authenticity and her inspiration. I love Richard Branson because he's this international man of mystery who is always playful and fun and ridiculous. And then Lincoln, because he's a trustworthy man of commitment and of revolution and evolution. And so it's taking those pieces of whoever resonates for you, right? Those were just the examples she used. But maybe it's somebody on Instagram, maybe it's a coach or an inspirational person, or maybe it's a relationship. Maybe I like Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. I think they have the cutest relationship, like that hashtag relationship goals. So expanders, because what it does is it expands your subconscious and moves it into your conscious.
I love that, and I think that's great. One thing that I wanted to, talk to you about is like, what has been the hardest thing on this journey? Do you ever go back when you were by yourself and like, hey, what would have happened if I've had continued on the executive journey in a different way?
I am grateful that I have this burning desire in my gut. I think I've been an entrepreneur. Like, I knew I had to get the heck out of Raytown, Missouri. I knew that much.
How old were you when you knew that?
Oh, I knew that probably in middle school, if not earlier. Like, I was like, this is not for me. And I fit in, and I navigated fine, but I like went to college. I went to Chicago. I came to LA. I was like, I'm definitely not living here. This is not my jam. But I also believed that I believe that drive comes from feeling not worthy. I worked really, really hard. I sacrificed a lot when it came to relationships or having a family or kids. I chose a different path. And it was really rooted in, I thought I was a fat girl who wasn't pretty and had to outsmart, out-funny, out-earn everyone so I could be worthy to be your friend or have love.
I mean, I had the same problems myself. I didn't feel worthy, and I've realized that meeting so many people on my podcast now, that a lot of the ultra successful people, it is rooted in the beginning that they wanted to feel worthy. And what we do realize when you become a world medalist and you get that awesome job is that is not going to solve your problems. It's awesome if you're already feeling good, but it's not going to change your life, and especially your life when you're by yourself. And going back to, I recently had Tom Billy on the show, and his definition of success is how you feel about yourself when you're with yourself. And I love that definition. I think that's one of the best I ever heard. And at the end of the day, like, how do you feel about yourself when you're with yourself? That's hard. You can't lie there.
And this is the opportunity in this lifetime. Like, you're in this meat suit right here, right now, and you will never occur this way again. And it is our journey as human beings to kind of get to that place of, I'm enough. Like, I'm here for a reason. This is what I got, and loving it, doing whatever it takes to get to the place of loving yourself. I have to say, this journey of vulnerability opened up finally to, oh, you've arrived. You got there. Now what? Like, you can only go in. You can only there's no awards to win. There is no like thing to get. And when you're in that space, everything's within you. And I feel it's an amplification of your tools, your wisdom, and your joy on the planet.
What makes you happy, Amber J?
I mean, the ocean makes me happy. Waking up in this goddess temple makes me happy. It makes me happy that I own my wisdom and tools and am able to impart that on others. That gives them freedom, right? Like, not from like an ego, like, oh, I know all the things. It's like, I've learned some things and I'm passing them on because they gave me relief and freedom. And I wish that for you. I wish you abundance. I wish you not to struggle and not to like hide behind what you think you need to be. You are enough. You are beautiful. You are whole and complete.
Yeah. And what do you want to say to, if we talk a little bit about from the male perspective, you know, let's say some guys listening to this right now and they are, hey, I'm super successful, but I feel that something is missing in my life. And like, how is the way to go? Like, what's the way to go there, you know?
Yeah. I speak to a lot of men, you know, and I invite them into men's groups to kind of the same as women. Like, if you're having this experience in this male body, and so you get to relate to other healthy masculine men, to explore in a safe space how to unpack whatever there is to unpack. And gosh, we really have this culture of men stuffing it down and buck up, man up. And when the feminine actually understands that, we get to be a soft landing and a support and permission for the masculine to release that. That's what's so beautiful about masculine and feminine coming together is we give each other permission. The divine feminine to be pleasure and to be flow, and the masculine to be structure, but also to be consciousness and to be tapped in and open and holding and be held, like swapping those back and forth. Like, we get to hold each other. And so I always invite men into men's groups. There's a ton of them certainly around our neighborhood. And I really like the work of John Wineland. That's more of like the sexual relationship, but it's also the masculine feminine relationship. And it's so rooted in like grounding yourself in the earth, tapping into your inner knowing, healing your wounds, usually from your parents, and working through and creating the man that you want to be. Yeah. My 2 cents for men is it's tough. It's tough being a man. And you don't have to hold all that weight.
I think when I look at my own life, I think about, you know, have a lot of discipline. I'm strong. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm doing it no matter what. And it's textbook for not being vulnerable, right? And the thing is, like, in my mind, if I set my mind to do something, it gives me results, but necessarily sometimes it doesn't give me happiness, because I know that maybe I should quit, or maybe I should go a different route or take a break, but I won't do it because I've set my mind on something. And honestly, I have a hard time knowing when I should tap into that male energy of just like pushing through, and that feminine energy or whatever it is to like take a break and do something else and then come back to it. Like, what advice can you give to like thick-headed guys like me that are trying to better themselves?
Well, what I heard you say is what is that moment when you're not feeling happy, when you're not experiencing joy in what you're doing? So you could be totally purposeful and penetrating and like in your joy and like, yes, this feels great. But if you're like powering through because I have to do it, I have to, whoo, take a breath.
I know it, but sometimes you feel overwhelmed, right? You're doing everything on purpose, but then everything else is going on in your life at the same time. And like, you don't know where to go. You know that you're gonna enjoy this in like a month or two, but right now it's just like, hey, I gotta get this going.
Well, so two things. One is like if you're in a moment and you need to like realign, take 3 deep breaths.
Yeah.
Breath, reconnecting, close your eyes, sit in your car before you walk into a listing or a meeting or a competition and ground yourself, or use a meditation to shift into your feminine. Dance, like put on a song and dance like a teenage girl would. Like whether that, like, that sounds like maybe the most uncomfortable thing for some people, but literally like dance around and like move your body, and it just shifts your energy 100%. Like if you can do one song and have a go-to song, like have an emergency song, clear emergency, and then you put on that song, and then it shifts. Like just commit to the entire length of the song. The other, I had a second one. What was it?
We'll come back. It's early in the morning.
Wait, what was say the question one more time? I want to tell you this. Those are little tools, but this was a big one. Oh, dang it.
It'll come back to you.
All right.
That's the part of the human experience of being beautiful and living in alignment, right? Living in the present. And I just have 2 more questions to you, and then I'm gonna let you go. Maybe you'll go down to the ocean and enjoy a little bit. It's a beautiful day. So, Amber J, let's imagine you're 87 years old. You're sitting in a rocking chair in your goddess temple, contemplating about your life and just looking back. What do you want to have seen in order to say, wow, this was a good run?
I made a declaration a couple of years ago to impact 1 billion lives.
Wow.
And that was in a different context, but really my legacy is joy and happiness. And if I can look back and see the ripple effect of that, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, we need more joy. We need more happiness. So everybody here, take a chill pill, relax a little bit, enjoy
chill
the day.
Pill.
Calm the fuck down.
Calm the fuck down.
It's so funny because we're always, not all of us, but most of us in this Western society, we're striving for stuff. We're striving, which I think is good. but take a break too, and listen to what the Italians have to say, dolce far niente, which means the art of doing nothing. Relax a little bit. It actually feels good.
It's interesting. It's really hard to relax. And this is a beautiful point, kind of like pinpointing everything that we're talking about worthiness is we have created a culture where our value is placed in our work, and our worthiness is in our work versus our being. And I think my belief is we are in the shifting of that.
Yeah. And the last question for you, Amber J, is for people that are listening to this that have a dream, a goal that they want to go after, and maybe there's a big change in their life. Like for many of us during this year, it's been a very interesting year in many ways. So what would you tell them? What's the first step they can do to come a little bit closer to going after or taking action on that dream?
Stop doing it alone. I'm going to butcher this quote, but you can go far alone, but you can, I don't know. You go further
go
with
fast,
it.
go alone, go far,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
together.
yeah. That one. That's the quote.
I
I'm
love
the
that
worst
quote.
with quotes, but yeah. So it's building teams, and or if you're going through a process, find a community and be supported. We are in the era of community contribution, coming together, communes. Really, that there is this movement of picking your like-minded people and hunkering down and co-creating together. And it's the way to have the impact and leave the legacy you want to see in the world.
I love that. And that's definitely something that I'm working on getting better at. Amber J, if people want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Amber J. Lawson on every platform. I'm on Instagram, and you can DM me there, or Goddess Process. Goddessprocess.us is the website. And we're opening up Tribe. But I do corporate, interactive, immersive workshops and talks and gatherings. We just did one with the UN that was really impactful. Leading from vulnerability. So, what if our world leaders led from vulnerability?
Yeah, love that. Amber J, thank you so much for being here, spending time with me this morning. And I love what you do. I love your mission. Thank you for sharing so open-heartedly.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this space. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you everybody that are still here. We're an hour in, and that's a lot to ask for anybody when it's 2020, right? We have the attention span, most of us, like a goldfish, which I think is somewhere around 3 to 5 seconds. So if you're still here, that means that we love you. Yeah, here's some hearts, and I hope you love us too. And we're doing this for you. We're sharing this space in order for you to create a better life, become happier. And I want to hear from you. So if you found value in today's show, please share it with somebody, reach out to me or Amber J, so we can know what you enjoyed, and we that fuels us to move forward and do more as well. You can find me on ilovesuccess.co, or my book, The Goal Book, which is a book about setting goals, on Amazon. Other than that, thank you so much, and talk to you guys soon.